Hello, my stamping friends. My name is Holly Peterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and today I'm going to show you how to make this fun masculine card. I'm not quite sure what it's called, a double Z, maybe even a triple Z fold card, but I saw this from Sarah Simon, and I just loved it. So we're going to get started with making that. The stamp set that I'm using is Scenic Adventure, and it does come as a bundle with dies. I've been playing on a card here, but it comes with cool dies that you can do mountains and stuff with, so I'll be sure and post that once I finish that card. And the designer paper that we're using is, it's an online exclusive, and it's called Weekend Adventure, and it just comes with 3 different patterns. So the stripe and the check are one pattern, and then you have the little trees with some acorns, and then you have outdoorsy stuff with some blue splatter. So that's the designer paper that I'm using today. And again, that's in the online store. It's not in the catalog. I'll start out with all of our measurements. There's a few of them. So we have basic black, 4 1/4 by 11, and you're going to score at 1 3/8 and 2 3/4 on each end. So 1 3/8, 2 3/4, 1 3/8, 2 3/4, and then the fold is going to be, you're going to start from the left and you're going to do a mountain, a valley, a mountain, and a valley. Then we have a piece of basic black that's 8 1/2 by 1 1/2, and it's scored at 1 1/2 and 3. And then that's a mountain and a valley fold. We have Weekend Adventures designer paper that's 5 1/4 by 4. We have another piece that's 1/2 by 4, and again I'm using the same paper but just both sides. We have a basic white that's 5 1/4 by 4. We have basic white that's 3 3/4 or 3 1/4 by 2 3/4. Basic black that's 3 1/2 by 2 3/4. This should be by 2 1/2. Let me make that note here. So 2 1/2. And I did cut it wrong. Oh no, that one I cut okay. For class, I had that piece cut wrong. And then we have Cajun Craze that measures 4 by 1 1/4, and Cajun Craze that measures 4 by 1 1/8. We have 4 pieces that measure 1 1/8 by 4. And then you have 2 pieces of Cajun Craze that are 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. Now these Cajun Craze layers, we're going to emboss with the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to do that here real quick. So I'm just going to lay all of these pieces in here and try to get them fairly straight. This is one of the really big folders, so you can emboss a lot with one pass through the cut and emboss machine. Okay, I'm going to just run that through my machine. Okay. So now all of those pieces are ready for us. Okay, let's see here. Best place to start. I'm going to start from the left, and we're going to do a mountain fold here. And then we're going to do a valley. And then a mountain. And a valley. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adhere this piece of designer paper down. And that'll be centered right here in the middle. And then we're going to want to take one of these strips and adhere it to this side right away. Let's see here. I have a silicone mat I like to use so that my surface doesn't get sticky. So then we're going to just center that, and we're going to line it up with this designer piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these other two. You don't want to adhere this one just yet, but we'll go ahead and put the other two on there. Like that. Okay, so that's the basic of our card base. So now we're going to work on this piece. And again, it's 8.5 by 1.5, and it's scored at 1.5 and 3. We're going to do a mountain fold and then a valley fold. And then this is going to get adhered. This corner is going to get adhered over here, even with the side and the top. So we'll go ahead and do that. And just making sure those edges are even. And now we're going to put this other strip on here, and that'll hide this seam right there. Okay, and I'm just going to center that in there. I can kind of close this and get the bottom lined up with my inside layer, like that. And then we have two different widths of Cajun Craze here. The fatter one is going to go onto this front section here. So we'll go ahead and adhere that down. When we have an embossed layer, I like to use the liquid glue versus my seal on that. And then these two squares are going to get these Cajun Craze sections here. It doesn't look like I got my paper in the folder straight, but that's okay. Adds a little character, right? Okay, like that. And now this edge is going to line up with this fold here and the top. So we're going to adhere that even like this. Like that. And you can see our card is coming together real nice. This will fit in a standard envelope. It may require some extra postage. Kind of gotta force that down a little bit better here. Okay, now we're ready to do some stamping. So on our basic white, the small piece, we're going to get some of this out of our way. We're going to use the stamp Just Breathe and Take It Slow. We're going to stamp that in Cajun Craze. And I'm just going to stamp it over in this bottom right corner. And then I'm going to take two of the tree images, and the big tree we're going to stamp with Mossy Meadow, and this little tree we're going to stamp with Old Olive. So I'm going to start with my big tree. If you wanted to, you could take like a Q-tip and run down the middle there, and then use a marker and color the stem, not the stem, the trunk black, brown. But I'm just going to leave mine all green. And we're going to just stamp right there. And then with the Old Olive, we're going to stamp the littler tree. And I'm going to stamp this tree twice, but I'm not going to re-ink in between. So I'm going to stamp once here. And then bring it down just a little bit and stamp one more time. Okay. While we have the ink open, we might as well do the back piece. So on this one, we'll stamp the big tree in Mossy Meadow again. And this time I'm going to come over to the right. And then we'll do the same thing, scooch this up a little bit, with a smaller tree, where we'll stamp once, and then stamp again without re-inking. And then for the greeting on the back, we are going to say, "You're amazing." I did this in black. I don't have my black ink pad here, so I'm going to do it in Cajun Craze. And on this one, I'm going to try to put it as far to the right as I can because then I'm going to add that strip of designer paper. Okay, and then I'm just going to come stamp it over here, somewhat straight. Okay, this can go on the back. This is obviously where you will sign your card. Oh, gosh darn it. I must have had ink on that, and I got some on my card. I have a sand eraser. I will try to take that off of there. And then I'm going to close this panel. This other piece of embossed Cajun Craze is going to go here. And just centered like that. Should get rid of that mat until I can clean it off. Make sure I don't get any more ink on it. And then this little scrap that's 1/2 inch by 4. Just going to put some adhesive on it. And then so that a little bit of it shows when the card is closed like this. That's bugging me. Let me... see if we can't get some of that off. This is a sand eraser, and it will take up ink smudges for you. You just have to be careful because it does take a little bit of the cardstock layer off as well. And I got them on Amazon. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell those. Okay, that's better. Now back to the front. We have our piece here. We're going to layer onto our black. And it's too wide. Let me take a little bit off of that. Should have checked that before I put adhesive on it. Let's see how that looks. Could be just a little bit more. I will remeasure this piece and I will have the right dimension posted below in the video. And then I'm just going to add a line of adhesive at the very top here. And then I'm going to center it. You're going to come underneath and just do it on the big section back here. And I'm going to kind of center it. Like that. I didn't do an envelope, but you could certainly do the trees on your envelope as well. And there we have our masculine card for today. I appreciate you stopping by and taking the time to watch my video. If you've liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now.